Welcome to the computer age. 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 Welcome to the 21st century.
Hello, everyone out there. Hi, my name's Steven. I'm the owner here at Magical Memories Entertainment. I'm not here at Magical Memories. I'm home in my virtual, my house. And actually, I did this on purpose because today we have an awesome presentation. It's a workshop. It's an edutainer. She is absolutely fantastic. Rachel, how are you doing? I can't hear you, Rachel. You're still muted.
Hey!
There we go. So I do this that way that I can actually now, this is what you do normally. People are in their homes, in their home environments and stuff, right? So now I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. So you're here to do a little cocktail class for us. Is that right?
That's right. That's right, Steven. Thank you so much for having me.
Take it away. Oh, that's
awesome.
not me.
Ooh, I might have to shrink down a little bit. The StreamYard stream. StreamYard streaming. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachael Green. I am a virtual mixologist and virtual entertainer. I help teach people how to make cocktails in their own home. It's ultimately just a form of edutainment, so just shining some light into people's homes as they are. Normally, I do cocktails that you can either add alcohol to or not. Today, it is alcohol only. So it's Sunday here, so we're doing martinis, and we are doing a version of a martini called a Gibson. Now, a Gibson Martini is a pretty old variation of the cocktail. Ultimately, it's just a dry martini that is done with pearl onions, as opposed to olives or as opposed to a lemon twist. And what I love very much about this cocktail and why it's very much at the top of my mind is because I just binged watched Queen's Gambit. Now, who here, feel free to mention, has already binged the show Queen's Gambit? Now, Queen's Gambit was about Beth Harmon. She's an incredible prodigy who became one of the best in the world in chess and, beat the Russians and all of that stuff. It was a beautiful story. Sorry if I ruined it for everyone. That was rude. But anyways, so Beth and her mother would go around the world and they would order cocktails such as the Gibson. And the Gibson was kind of like that premier cocktail. So I'm going to teach you guys how to make that Gibson cocktail. So as you're sitting there watching the show that I just ruined for you, you have the ability to drink along with your favorite characters. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a mixing glass here. This is just a glass that I use when I am mixing cocktails that aren't going to be built in the same glass that we're going to be serving them in. I'm actually making martinis for multiple people. I guess, Steven, this one's going to be for you. So let's begin, shall we?
Much appreciated.
Yeah. So as you guys can see right here, I have ice in my glass already. So this glass is already starting to chill. The reason why we do that is martinis are not poured over ice traditionally, right? So we want to make sure that our glass is really nice and cold so that the cocktail, as we're sipping it, because it is quite a sipper, doesn't get warm by the time we go and finish that cocktail. It stays cold while it's not even actually on ice. So we are going to go ahead and build everything directly into this glass. I'm going to actually build them 2 at a time, but I'm going to show you how to build it just 1. So ultimately, we're going to do, I'm going to see how much vermouth I have. This is really just like kind of what would have been like a rinse of vermouth, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. Just a little touch. You can play around with using vermouth. Martinis are one of those things that you get to play around with using different measurements of vermouth and pearl onion brine or olive brine or other things to play around with. So martinis are just one of those things that are extremely versatile, and you get to make the perfect one for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just match whatever little vermouth and just go ahead and put that in there. Just a little bit of that pearl onion brine. The reason why I like to use it is because it gives it some of that saltiness and that brininess to it, and it gives it that savory quality. So there aren't a lot of savory cocktails out there. I mean, you have the Bloody Mary, you have, you have certain, I don't know, it's just really not that many, are there? Dirty Martini, right? So this particular cocktail is a really refreshing drink that you can have without adding a bunch of sugar to your day, which is at the end of the day what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some vodka here. I like to do 2 ounces per drink. So this is ultimately like a pretty extra dry martini variation. We just use a little bit of that vermouth and a little bit of that pearl onion brine just for flavor and to kind of round it out. So next thing we're gonna do, you can actually see we have 2 cocktails in here. It's just this little bit. So the cocktail isn't done though, because we have to do something called like diluting it and chilling it so that it's not super intense. So even extra dry martinis have quite a bit amount of water in them, even though there's no vermouth and other mixers in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some ice and just gonna add it directly into our mixing glass. Perfect. And I like to add a bunch because it's gonna dilute quickly, and the weight of the ice is going to help it move through pretty nicely. All right, so go ahead. You can see how much ice I have. It's like all the way up to here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, grab a nice long spoon, and we're just gonna mix this like this. Now, you have, some martinis that are shaken, such as James Bond, but actually most martinis, when you ask for them, are going to be stirred. And the reason why is because shaken cocktails are generally done with citrus. And so when you don't have citrus, then it's going to be probably better texturally if it's stirred as opposed to shaken, because the difference is that you're turbulently shaking, aerating the cocktail, and with stirred cocktails, I like to have that texture really beautifully velvety, so nice and smooth, which is why I'm just going to stir this like this. And how you can stir a cocktail is you keep the spoon on the very side of the glass. You can actually see the spoon backed up to the side of the glass here, and you just keep it with the back of the spoon on the edge of the glass, and that will move it very quietly. How you know it's not aerating it is if it's really quiet. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and dump this ice out. Boom, see it's nice and frosty. Whee! And we are gonna go ahead and pour this cocktail into our glasses. So just gonna go ahead. Beautiful. Just gonna do little bits at a time. All right, and then for our garnish, we're just gonna do a little pearl onion, which you can drop to the bottom of the glass, or you can put on a little pick like this. And then the other one, I'll go ahead and drop to the bottom of the glass so you can see what it looks like. All right, and this is our Gibson Martini, a perfect cocktail to enjoy a round of chess in. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try. Fantastic, super refreshing, definitely the opposite spectrum of sweet. Definitely gets the job done because it's a martini, and super easy to make. The only things you really need, pearl onions and vodka. Boom. So I hope you guys really like that. These are some really fun things that you can do. If you are looking for other cocktail recipes, you can follow me at Rach Green Cocktails on Instagram. I also have a weekly show in my Facebook group called Cocktails and Connections, which is really fun. But if you are looking for any ideas on how to bring your events to be more engaging and activating the 5 senses of your audience members, go ahead and reach out to me, or reach out to Steven to reach out to me.
That was awesome. Very nice job. All right, so now I got a couple of questions for you.
Here you go,
Now that
Steven.
Thank you. How do I get this?
Oh, good job.
I'm a magician and all, but I can try. So you got to tell me, why would somebody get a cocktail, a virtual cocktail? I mean, what's the point? Can you give us some examples of good times to have virtual cocktails?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing is that, it's a virtual summit or somewhere that people are going to be digesting a lot of information all day. And you want to have something that just pulls people out of that headspace of being in their head and digesting all this information. And you want to have something that, an experience that suspends the disbelief that they're in front of another Zoom screen, but you want to still keep them engaged. So by having a virtual happy hour or something after the event, it puts them back into beginner's mindset, gets them into a fun and engaged and silly headspace, so that if there is some networking shortly thereafter, which I can actually prompt people into as kind of like this virtual happy hour, like MC kind of person, I can kind of push them into more networking. And it actually opens up a lot more of that space to be social, because then they're just enjoying cocktails or laughing at how ridiculous I am or something like that, because I'm definitely the crazy lady that just makes drinks on Facebook.
So just out of curiosity, so you're not just going to jump in there and make a drink. You're actually doing other things as well. So what other things do you do like during this time frame? You mentioned you MC. What other kind of things that you do?
Yeah. So some other things that I do, I also do like virtual concierge. So I actually can help direct the flow of, if there is like a virtual happy hour with other performers on, I can actually help do those transitions. I've been doing trivia lately, which has been really funny. Most of the times with my clients, we'll figure out
trivia is a good thing. I like that.
Cocktails and trivia. I wanted it to be like a one-stop shop for like a bar experience. So I used to sing with some of my cocktail classes. So over the holidays, I used to do.
All right, let's do it. Sing me something.
Oh, I knew that was going to happen.
You brought it up.
Do you hear my voice right now? I sound like a man. Hold on, I really wasn't prepared for this. I can try.
Go for it. Let's try it. Drop a comment in there if you like what she's doing. Colin, yeah, that's good.
I am a woman named after my mother. My old man was another child is grown old. Believe was thunder, lightning was desire. This house would have burned down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of a rodeo. Just give me one thing, that I can hold on to. Believing this and living is just a hard way to go. That's it.
That was fabulous. You got a like on there, Michelle. Thank you for dropping that like on there. She loved it. So absolutely fabulous. You gotta give yourself more credit. Okay, you're there. It's the alcohol.
I used to be a jazz singer, but I've been really into country. So
that works. Interesting. Very cool.
My voice is effed today. I don't know what's going on.
It's all the talking on Clubhouse.
It's seriously.
For everybody that doesn't know what Clubhouse is, it is how would you describe it?
It's an audio-only platform that it pushes conversation and community at the forefront of personal identity.
There you go. Very nice.
That's how I would say it at this very moment. That's how I would describe it.
That's true. I agree with that. So, in regards to what you do, what's the best workshop you've ever done? The best group you've ever worked with?
Ooh, dang, that's a good question. What was a really fun thing to do? Well, I love collaborating, number one. So some of my favorite events that I've ever worked on were actual holiday, like the holiday parties that I did this past year, where I have a friend who's a comedian in North Carolina. Her name is Lauren Ainsley. She has a company called Barely Funny. And she would MC and do comedy. And then we had another person do magic and another person do music. And we all worked together on this event, and, you know, having that kind of panel and backstage and developing those relationships was really awesome. To me, it's more about, you know, collaboration in that particular sense. But one of the coolest things that I think I've ever done independently was I did an experience for a bunch of nanoscientists, and they wanted it to be like a very scientific cocktail class. It was about 15 minutes long, and I did this funny cocktail with like balls of cucumber, lime juice, mint, and different things. It was ultimately an Eastside Ricky for anyone in the cocktail world who knows what that is. It's Eastside Ricky cocktail. And I made it have like dry ice at the bottom. I had a lab coat and like these glasses on, and I made everything sound super scientific. And so going completely into costume or completely into theme is definitely my jam. Like I did one this week that was tiki themed, and that one was an absolute blast. I had like a whole decor thing going on. So I love themes. I think Halloween's my favorite holiday. So I definitely prefer to do things like that.
So it sounds like you've done some really interesting programs. Which is I guess the best theme that you've done? You said tiki was one, science was another. What was your favorite?
I mean, those were definitely at the top. I also did a Halloween party where I was doing like potions classes, and that was really fun. So I did like potions, and that had like, you know, fun elements of fire and dry ice and stuff like that. So
that's really cool. Fire. Jeez. All right. So, I mean, that being said, it sounds like you do some like crazy things. I mean, listen, you're in the alcohol space and, you know, that kind of thing. What's the most crazy thing or the weirdest thing that you saw like in your event?
Just probably me. Just being ridiculous. I'm just a goofball and I roll with the punches. But the craziest thing I've ever seen, I don't know. I mean, people don't do that many crazy things. I mean, I've definitely heard crazier things on Clubhouse, I would say. But everyone's been very well mannered, I would say. Yeah, I think I'm probably the craziest component of some of the events that I've been in.
That's fair. I can understand that. Oh, very cool. All right. Is anything else you could, like, tip wise? Like, so someone's never done a virtual program and they're thinking about it, because I mean, the newest craze is obviously virtual mixology. Everybody loves it. You know, everybody wants to have a cocktail, learn how to make cocktails.
Right.
You know, any suggestions when you're starting the process and what they should do?
So I feel like that's two questions. So the first question I think would be, when getting into virtual entertainment and incorporating that into your programs, the first thing is, like, what does your audience need? Like, what do they really want? Do they want more engagement? What's going on with them? Are they, you know, showing up to your meetings with their cameras off? Are they disengaged? They're like telltale signs that you can make note of, that kind of show you that you should be incorporating more like entertainment, edutainment into either your team building programs, your for revenue events that you're doing, like ticketed events or events that are leading into a sale of a program, those types of things. You have to like kind of provide more value in the form of like entertainment, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to be the best distraction in their house at that time, right? Because we're not competing with each other. We're competing with Netflix. We're competing with Clubhouse. We're competing with all of these other things that are providing value to some degree. So if you think about what's providing value with some of the Netflix shows that are going on, or even cocktail cooking shows, right? People are like, why would I, you know, pay a chef or a mixologist to come on to my event? Well, I'm like, well, how many hours will you stand there watching Emerald or, you know, watching the Cooking Network? And you don't even have the ingredients to make with that. Imagine if you had the ingredients, or you had notice to get prepared to do this event together, and we can all cheers together, share this moment, and make it truly unforgettable. That being said, when you're looking for a mixologist, you want to make sure that you have an idea of what their setup is going to look like, the quality of the content that they're going to be producing, if they do cocktail kits, really understanding the foundations of what you really want, and also be understanding with the fact that shipping alcohol is illegal. So if someone is going to ship you alcohol, like do them an extra favor and throw them an extra few $100 because they're putting their self on the line for you.
Ooh, that's good to know. So, so you brought up an interesting point. How does one get all the things? So, like, if I wanted to actually participate in this, and I was ready for it, and 1:30 on a Sunday, going to start popping bottles and do this, right? How do I normally do this? If we were in a normal event, would I have to go out and find it? Would I have to go out and buy my own stuff? Do I have to like look around my house and be like, do I have this vermouth, this vermin thing? I hope I don't have vermins around my
Steven, always make them laugh. So yeah, I mean, if you don't have vermouth, or if you don't have a shaker tin, or if you don't have, all of these bar tools, it's really good to work with mixologists or people that are putting on these types of instructional edutainment that are flexible with the audience, right? Like if you don't have certain tools, well, what else can you use? Can I use a tablespoon instead of one of these, or a shot glass? Can I use a mason jar instead of a shaker tin? Like those things are really nice to have on the line. There are a couple of things, especially with these cocktail recipes, that are pretty standard to have. Like if it's a citrus cocktail, like an orange just simply won't work. Like you have to get a lemon or a lime. Can you sub lemons and limes? Kind of. Not preferred, but I mean, if you have a lime, it's going to make a different cocktail, but ultimately it's going to still taste good. So what I do when I work with my clients is when we're establishing our goal of having a cocktail class on like a certain date, time, we'll establish what cocktails we want to do. And then if we have a good enough time, like let's say at least 3 weeks, to get everything together, then that we can do a potential kit for you. Now, I don't ship alcohol, but I do have solutions that could work in your favor as well. But if you don't want to do the cocktail kits, then don't need any more than really like 7 days to get everything together, as long as the attendees have enough time to get the ingredients. So I would be sending a recipe list or even a supplies list, which aggregates everything that they would need onto one sheet so that they can just go to the grocery store to pick things up.
Oh, so you do actually could put together kits for people. So if we were gonna do this in 3 weeks from now, and I was like, I'm gonna have 30 people on a Zoom call. I'm having a corporate meeting. I'm gonna have 30 of my colleagues on here. We want to kick off the party before we do our after our meeting. We have a town hall type of meeting or something like that. And afterwards, we're gonna have everybody kind of hang out. You can send everybody a kit. What does that kit include? What would that look like?
It can include a lot of different things. So if it's going to include things like bar tools, it's normally going to be between 3 and 4 weeks because we have to, ship things to my fulfillment center. But it's going to include citrus, because I like citrus to be juice fresh for all my classes. That's really important for integrity for me. I include syrups. I include bitters because they are a grocery element. Include any garnishes, decorations. If it's a tiki class, we'll put like coconut bras and leis. And if it's a birthday party, we put little birthday hat things and other things in there too. So it's not just the things that you need for the box. It's for the class. It's actually other engaging things that you get to put on and get into character and support the party, or support yourself showing up in the party, so that it just makes it so much better. And when I started to include those particular elements into it, people just started the people that were attending just dove right into the moment so much faster because they felt that much more supported in the moment.
So that's interesting. That was actually going to be my next question, is how do you get people to, so you mentioned like people have their cameras off, people have their microphones muted. How do you avoid that? How do we get people to turn their cameras on? How do we get people to start? Because I mean, there are people just getting tired. Who wants to be on Zoom anymore, right? Tired of it. No more. So how do we get people to avoid that? I don't know. I'm curious. What would you do?
Yep. So one thing that I really love to do is every time we're like getting in here, so like we're in here, we're making drinks. I'm like, okay, we're cutting the lime. Smell the lime. Smell the lime. What does that smell like? Ooh, wow. It smells kind of floral, right? What do you think? Type it in the chat. This, that, and the other. And then we go and we juice the lime, and I'm like, okay, taste the lime juice. What does it taste like? I want to see show me your best lime face. Show me your best lime face. Let me see it. And everyone's like, and because you're I'm almost throwing like a competitive, like engaging element in there, people don't even think about turning their cameras off, you know, because they're in it, you know. And I'm like, okay, who's got the best shake? Shake it up high, shake it up high. How high can you shake it? How high can you shake it? You know, like, and people love it. So it's just like, because I'm being so ridiculous, it gives them space to step it up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm like, okay, this is how you shake a cocktail. We're gonna go like this. We're gonna add our ice. We're gonna go like this, and we're gonna shake back and forth. Good. Bueller. You know, like nobody cares. But if you're just like,
Absolutely.
if you go the extra mile to be extra ridiculous or to bring the energy that much higher, it raises the bar so that they have a lot more space to come up. That way, if they're down here energetically, it's like, doesn't make sense, right? They want to come up here enough to match the energy of the room.
So you can't just get any like bartender. So if you know, I can't go to like my local bar. She's out of work right now. The local bartender's out of work. I could be like, hey, here's a computer with a camera on it. Go on there and just, you know, make a cocktail. That's not enough for virtual mixology. You think it requires more?
Right. I think that the people that are going to have the best luck, because I'm actually going to be releasing a course on this to help people in the hospitality industry that are struggling right now and have job insecurity, right? So I'm going to be creating a course that kind of gives them that support to get to where at least I'm at, you know? And what it really comes down to, and the people that are going to do the best are the people that are hungry and willing to learn just a little bit audio visual. So audio being your sound is going to be as equally as important as your content, and your visual, like I'm using a Canon M50 right now that's linked through an HDMI to really up the quality so that when all of those things are elevated, it allows people to get into your space that much more. But it really comes down to, you know, performance quality mindset around the fact that you are at the other end of a camera. Like there's not a bunch of people sitting in the room. There's nobody sitting at your bar technically. So a lot of people, especially in the bar industry, are just like, it's not real, you know? And that's a really hard thing to convince an audience of if you don't believe it yourself, you know? So if, you know, so that's when I come back to vetting mixologists, is to make sure that they take themselves seriously enough so that there's that. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to be like, you know, I have $150 that I can spend on a mixologist. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a friend that, you know, is a bartender here that I've seen their ability to make cocktails on camera good enough. Like I'll refer you over to them. But if you want someone that's going to make an unforgettable experience for your audience and for your team, that's where I come in, you know, like there's just different tiers. It just depends on what you're working with, what your budget is, and how much this experience that you're adding on means to leave a good impression. Like if you wanted to leave the best impression, then you have to get the best out there.
So if they're looking at people and they, you know, one person's offering it for, you know, bottom tier rate, what are the things you said, audio visual, what are the questions they need to ask? Is there specific questions they should ask? Or, you know, if someone came to you, what were the ideal questions that you would want them to ask you as a mixologist to show, you know, who you are and be able to showcase what you do?
If someone was coming to me and asking me as a client interested in my services?
Yeah, so like, if a client is looking for an awesome mixologist, what are the questions they should be asking?
I guess the question for me would be, the question that I really love, because I love my own answer on this, it sounds really douchey, but is, you know, do you have options for alcohol optional? Right? Like those things are super important, because a lot of people tend to think I'm getting a mixologist, everyone in my party has to drink. That's not the case at all. You can actually create so many of these cocktail variations with alcohol optional or without alcohol at all. So I like when people come to ask me for solutions for people that aren't drinking in their party, because that gives me an understanding of how to include that into my own demonstrations, but also just to allow them to feel more supported in that. And then another question that is good to ask is, how much time do I need to give me to set up, you know, the kits, to set up the class, to give my attendees? How much time do they need to be prepared? How much marketing time do I need to get the attendee count that I'm desiring if this is going to be a mixology focused event, you know? So I like when people are thinking in terms of how is this going to serve my audience? How do you get them involved when people ask me something like that? Like how do you help them get suspended in disbelief or suspend their disbelief on?
Okay. So how do you have helped them suspend their disbelief? I'm going to ask you now. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little technical, right? So by activating the senses, by telling people like, you know, I look at people that are like comedians, magicians, and people that are on like the Cooking Network. When you're watching these people and they're like, oh, this smells like this and this tastes like this, whether or not they're making the cocktail with you, they're feeling and sensing those things too. And also like, you'd be like encouraging them to answer questions that you're asking. You're like, yeah, it smells floral. Is it floral? And they're like, yes. It smells like, this tastes acidic. It's acidic, right? Yes, it's acidic. Okay. And so it's just like almost getting them to agree. Little micro agreements, I guess, is how I get people to.
Are you actually having people on the camera with you, or is it just through chat? Oh, okay.
I don't think I've had one person. I mean, during some of the holiday parties, people would be, because of like the 60, 70 person group, just a couple of people that would maybe be in and out, like with family or something. But of the personal classes that I've done, I haven't seen a camera off in a while.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Well, we're wrapping it up. We go. We wrapped it up.
Hey guys. Figuring out
that's the magic trick for you. That was this is a perfect timing. There you go. We wrapped it up. That's like that. She was out. Done. Thanks for the chat. Is there any kind of final note that you can leave us on? Any kind of tidbit that people should know from a virtual mixologist?
Tip from a virtual mixologist. Whatever you're doing, just aim to stay connected. Allow connection to be the driving point when you are, trying to attract your audience, trying to bring your team together, trying to stay connected with your family and your friends, which you might not have been able to see for the past year. Keep connection at the forefront, because right now that's what we have to continue to move forward. But when planning things like events, just keep that at the forefront. Having them connected to your vision, connected to the moment. Just keep it at the forefront. Connection is definitely my number one.
Fantastic. That I 100% agree with that. It is. That's what we're here for. We're trying to connect everybody. I mean, this is why we're still doing all these things. We're 40. I forgot it's in the beginning. 45 weeks into this. I think you're the 45th person to do my Sunday live stream. So I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate you making the cocktail with us, and everybody out there. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good day, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.